And we have seen the Boolean data type, char data type in the previous session. Today we are going to see the numeric data type, that is integral value, integer, and floating point data types, that is byte, short, int, long, float, and double. Before going forward, we will first revise these two in just a quick program. Okay, so in the program, we have seen how to create the Boolean data type. The Boolean data type will be created with the help of Boolean keyword. Then the variable name and the value if you want to give anything, or you can simply declare any variable. Okay. So this is a declaration of variable, and this is declaration and definition. Okay. So when you are giving any value to any variable, that value is default considered as default value. If you are not giving any value, then the default value for this Boolean data type is false. So default value gets stored for this Boolean वेरिएबल सी. ठीक है. सो जब भी आप कोई वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर करते हो तो बाय डिफॉल्ट उसमें डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू स्टोर होती है. दैट इज नथिंग बट द फॉल्स इन द केस ऑफ बुलियन डेटा टाइप. ठीक है. And if you are assigning any value to it, that is considered at its own value. ठीक है. तो इसकी वैल्यू आप बाद में चेंज कर सकते हो, इसकी भी वैल्यू आप बाद में चेंज कर सकते हो. यू कैन चेंज द वैल्यू एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. ठीक है. सो सपोज आई एम थिंकिंग टू गिव द वैल्यू एज ट्रू, and suppose b variable के लिए I am changing the value as false. So we are changing the values, we are reassigning the values. Okay, so we are only reassigning the values, because here we are want to change the values. Okay, that is why we are reassigning the values. So what the reassigning means, the value which you have stored and the value where the memory gets allocated for this variable is never changes. It only changes its value. जो हमने variable में देखा था वैसे ही यहाँ पे जब भी आप कोई variable declare करते हो, whatever the memory gets allocated for that, that is not going to change. Only the value part of that variable is going to change. Okay, whenever you are reassigning the value part is going to change, not the memory addresses. Memory addresses will be same. It is basically replacing the previous value with the new one. Then we have seen the character data type, where we can store any character data. So character data, everything from your keyboard is character. Okay. So suppose you want to store character, we will use char keyword to store any character data type. Remember that we cannot use the same data variable name here. Variable names always be unique. So if you are trying to use the same variable name, it will give you an error. Okay, duplicate local variable, because we have already declared C variable here. That is why we cannot reuse that variable or declare with any other data type. You can assign the value to that variable any point of time. अभी यहाँ पे हमें variable name change करना पड़ेगा. That is why we say the name should be unique and it should be meaningful. ठीक है. अभी के लिए ये simple example है. That's why you can use any variable name. So I will give C1 suppose. Here whenever we are storing any character, we use single quotes. I'm storing the character B here. You can create multiple or declare multiple variables in one line also by using comma. Bracket. Okay. Comma separated declaration is also allowed here in Java. You just need to give the same data type once, and you can specify n number of variable names whenever you are required. So all these are, I am specifying values also with the declaration. That means I am defining the value for given variables. If I want to declare anything or any variable, I can declare it as it is. Okay. So suppose you want to display what data is stored at the memory location C. What data is stored at variable B, or you can say memory location B. Then we can use the system.out.println statement to display the value. Okay, so how to display? I will display the value of Boolean variable B. ठीक है, so variable B की value मुझे display करनी है. I will display this before reassigning the value. Okay, so what we need to use? We need to use the value which is stored here at this memory location, B memory location. Okay, so here we are appending the value. If you want to access the value of any particular variable, we can simply use plus and the memory variable name, that is we are giving the name to that memory location, right? हमने जो memory के लिए नेम दिया है, वेरिएबल नेम दिया है, उसको हमें यहाँ पे अपेंड करना पड़ेगा, सो दैट इट विल रिप्लेस द वैल्यू ऑफ दिस आफ्टर द इक्वल टू साइन. जहां पे भी आपको देना है वहां पे आपको ये प्लस करके आप उसको अपेंड कर सकते हो. यू कैन कंस्ट्रक्ट एनी डेटा, एनी सेंटेंस हियर. Okay, so system.out.println is basically used to display any output on your console or on your screen. Okay, system.out.println is used to display any output or statements on the console. System is a class, predefined class. In this system, out is object. ठीक है, किसका object है? Print stream का object है. And the println is a method of print stream itself. Okay, so print, println, all these are methods, different methods to display any data. So you can only display any type of variable directly or any string appended with any variable name also. Whatever the statement you want to create, you can use simply this system.out.println statement. It is out, always used to give the output of your program or statements which you need to display. Okay, same statement if I use for the variable C, which we have not yet assigned any value, then what we will get, that we will see here. Okay, and the same statements I am going to display here after reassigning the values. After reassigning, I don't want to display any variable values here, so I'm removing those plus signs and keeping only the statement which I want to display on the screen. Now you can see here we are getting some error, that is local variable C may not have been initialized. So unless and until you give the value to this, it will not going to execute, but still we will try once. Okay, so in Eclipse it will not execute because you need to initialize the value immediately whenever you are declaring the variable, or before displaying the value, you need to initialize the value to it. But on the console or command prompt, you can execute this and you can see the default value also. Here we will get some error message. See, errors exist. So this is the work of compiler. The compilation of the program is done and it is showing you the syntactical error or the initialization error basically. Before proceeding, it is like asking you to give some value to it. Okay, so the same here. Exception in thread main, unresolved compilation problem is shown. The local variable may not have been initialized. This is the error message. Okay, we got. And where we have got it, so the data types is the name of the class, main is the method, and the line number is shown here after colon. Okay, so here we can see that line number 10, before assigning the value, we are displaying it. So it will give you the error. But same value you may get here, you will get the value here as output, because the statement line by line execution is done in the Java. Okay, always it uses line by line approach. That is why, and the approach is always top to bottom. Top statement is executed first, and उसके बाद next statements execute होते हैं. That is why this statement is giving error, and it will stop executing here itself, and it will not execute the next statements. If you want to execute the next statements, you can comment it, or we will see how to avoid these errors later in the exception part. But यहाँ पे, once I commented out this code, it will go to the next statement immediately, and it will start executing next statement. So you can see we are not getting any errors now or exceptions now, and we are getting correct output. So whatever the value we have stored here in the B variable, it is true that we are displaying here. The value stored at the memory location or value stored in that variable. Okay. Similarly, here also for C and B, which we have reassigned the values. Okay. Now we can display the multiple variable values in a single statement also. So we will see how to do that. I am going to display here the value of char variable or character variables also you can use. So here I am going to make some changes. I want to display C2 first. Okay. Equal to के बाद मुझे C2 दिखना चाहिए. उसके बाद मुझे combine करना है statement. After that, I want to display the C3 variable value. Sorry, not C3, C1 variable value. So after equal to, again, I will use plus sign and then the variable name. So it will create one statement. Proper statement, you have to construct it using append sign, or that is plus sign in system.out.println. Okay. And the last one also I am displaying here, C4 is equals to plus C4. Now again you will get some error because C4 is also not initialized. That is why it is going to give you the error here again. So what we will do, we will simply use space. Okay, I have actually given a space character here. Okay, so space is also an character. तो उसको भी आप character में consider कर सकते हो, and it is going to give you the character output whatever we have stored. So for C4 it is showing you space because I have stored space in this C4 data type or data variable में मैंने actual space दिया है, तो उसको हम वहां पे store करके दिखा सकते हैं. ठीक है. So this is the character data type. By default values जब भी data type store होता है, data store होता है, memory allocation होता है, तब उसके default values store हो जाते हैं. But whenever you are giving any value to that variable, that value gets assigned later. Okay. So for Boolean data type, we need only 1 bit of memory, and for character we need 16 bits. That is nothing but 2 bytes of memory. Now, as I said, everything on your keyboard is nothing but the key. All the keys on your keyboard are nothing but characters. Okay? So every key on your keyboard is a character. It includes some alphabets, A to Z alphabets, small cases, uppercase alphabets, 0 to 9 numbers, then some special characters, backspace, enter, shift, control, etc. Some function keys, everything. New line, that is enter is again new line. So everything on your keyboard is considered as character in the programming. And every character has the special number. That number is known as ASCII code. Okay? Every character has a special number that is known as ASCII code. So ASCII is nothing but American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So ASCII code क्या होता है? So whenever you are typing any report, how the computer understands which key you have pressed. Suppose you are typing hi. Hi means H and I. So how the computer will understand H is pressed and I is pressed. So internally, it interprets using this ASCII code. So every key has the ASCII code. Whenever you are pressing H, the ASCII code for H is sent to the system, and then the system will encode it and display that number or the character you have pressed. Okay, the ASCII code. These are some examples. ASCII code for capital A to Z are 65 to 90. These are numbers basically. ठीक है, ASCII codes are basically numbers. एक number होता है, हाँ, digits होता है. हर एक digit और सारे keys के लिए एक proper number होता है. Okay. स्मॉल केस ए टू जेड के लिए 97 to 122, 0 to 9 डिजिट्स के लिए 48 to 57. ये कुछ नंबर्स हम यूज करते हैं. ब्लैंक स्पेस के लिए 32. जैसे अभी हमने कैरेक्टर यूज किया बी, राइट? इन द प्रोग्राम वी हैव स्टोर द कैरेक्टर बी. So internally what it is storing? It is basically storing the ASCII value of that B character. Okay, so this is a uppercase character. So 65 and 66 will be the ASCII code for B character. That gets stored internally for the memory allocation done for this character value. And then it is showing you the value here in the character format. Okay. So these are ASCII numbers. Everything on your computer keyboard has its own ASCII code. Escape sequences. Suppose you want to use a new line on your while you're displaying something. Okay, suppose this is the statement. This is the example of new line. Suppose you want to display this statement on the new line. By default, it will come on the new line क्योंकि हर एक statement ln method हम use करें. That means new state जो भी statement आएगा इस statement के बाद will always come on the next line. But again, if you want to do that manually, then we use the escape sequences. /n is used for new line. So I will re-execute this. Right click, run as Java application. It will display. So one line is keep as a blank because we have manually used /n. So ये ln का जो है वो as it is new line पे cursor आपका blink करेगा, and the statement after the /n will be displayed on the next line. Okay, so these are some escape sequences. /n, /t is used for tab, vertical tab, horizontal tab. Vertical tab we can use /v. If you want to use the backslashes, so backslash has special meaning in our programming. That's why if you want to display the backslash in your system on your as an output basically, then you have to use double backslash. Then that backslash is displayed on the screen or as the output. ठीक है, जब भी अगर आपको backslash वगैरह as a output चाहिए तो single backslash हम कभी नहीं लिख सकते because every single backslash is always escape sequences start with backslash. That's why if you want to display this kind of thing, then you have to use the backslash. Similarly, if you want to use any semicolons or quotes like these, double quotes, single quotes, has some meaning in our Java programming. If you want to display these, then again, you have to use this escape sequences to display those quotes here, semicolon here. ठीक है, so अगर आपको करना है तो आपको backslash use करके ही लिखना पड़ेगा. Then only you will be able to ठीक है. So जब भी आपको यूज करना है तो डबल बैकस्लैश यूज करके आप कर सकते हो. It's double quotes में ही है, that's why it is giving us problem. No problem. So these are some escape sequences. ठीक है, these are some escape sequences which we can use this here in our program for very particular purpose. Like /b is used for backspace. New line is mostly used. Horizontal tab is mostly used. /t. Backslash is used. Single quotation, double quotation, question mark, semicolon, and null character, that is /0. Okay, so these are some escape sequences. This is everything related to character data type. Now we will go forward with the integer data type. There are 4 different types of integer data types. You can see here: byte, short, int, and long. Okay, integer data type has 4 different basic data types: byte, short, int, long. So what is the difference between all these? That we will see one by one. सबसे पहला है byte. If you want to store the value which has a very small range or small digits, then you can use the byte data type. Byte data type has lesser memory requirement, that is 1 byte of memory. Okay, so whenever we are storing any value, it always convert it into 2's complement. We have already seen what is 2's complement. Okay, so it creates 2's complement, and then it will get stored into your memory. So suppose how to store the value byte data type, how to declare the variables of byte data type, that we will see here. Byte is the keyword. Then we can define the variables. So I'm using B1. You can store the value which is lesser. It has some range. Okay, so the range of this byte data type is minus. You can store the sign plus minus. If you are not giving any sign, that means it is a plus value. If you want to store minus values, we can store it also. Okay, sorry, I have given the semicolon here to give the comma. Then minus, the range is minus 127 to 3 plus 128. Okay, the value stored after this, okay, it is giving error immediately because type mismatch. The range is 127 ही है. ठीक है, so 127 तक वैल्यू आप बाइट डेटा टाइप में स्टोर कर सकते हो. Latter state value, more, or you can say higher values than 127 cannot be stored into byte data type. ठीक है, so how to store that we will see later. तो ये इस तरीके से आप बाइट डेटा टाइप के वैल्यूज भी स्टोर कर सकते हो. तो बेसिकली द रेंज इज minus 127 to plus 127. Byte data type, any real time example means? Yes, it only stores the numerical values. We are seeing this for numerical values. Boolean is already done, character is already done. Okay, so now we are seeing the numerical values with integer. That means no dots. You can say no precisions, no point values. Okay, whole numbers. You know whole numbers, right? You can store whole numbers. So whenever you require to store the values which are in between this range, or you're expecting the values which should be within this range, you can go for the byte data type. ठीक है, रियल टाइम एग्जाम्पल में ऐसे आपको अभी तो नहीं बता पाऊंगी. ठीक है, सो दिस इज द एग्जाम्पल. ये आपके रिक्वायरमेंट के बेसिस पे रहता है. सो इफ यू वांट टू expect, or you can say you are expecting the values should be within the same range, minus 127 to 128. So you can use the byte data type. It requires 8 bits of memory, or you can say 1 byte of memory. Okay, memory requirement is less. apart from other न्यूमेरिकल और डेटा टाइप्स के लिए सबसे कम स्पेस बाइट डेटा टाइप को लगता है. आफ्टर दिस बाइट द नेक्स्ट डेटा टाइप इज शॉर्ट. ओके, सारे इंटीग्रल होल नंबर्स के लिए डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू 0 रहेगा. ओके, शॉर्ट डेटा टाइप requires 16 bits of memory, that is 2 bytes of memory, and it also stores 2's complement internally. Okay, so short is always used for the range. Short data type, then the variable name, I am giving any value which is my screen visible to you? Program visible है सबको?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thought it was stuck. Okay, the value we can store in the short data type is 32,767. Range is this, okay? Till you can store 32,768, 767 plus value you can store into short data type. ठीक है, तो अगर आपको expected है value should be within this range, then you can go for the short data type. Okay, so in your program or in your application you are expecting that my value will never go ahead of this range or before this range, then you can go for the short data type. It is always depend on your knowledge and your application requirement. Okay, it requires 16 bits of memory, nothing but 2 bytes memory to store this data. Okay, so जैसे मैंने बोला, we are giving the values in decimal format, right? So based 10 values, but internally it is calculating 2's complement and store it into the memory allocated for this short data type. Then we use the third and mostly used data type is integer. ठीक है, क्योंकि mostly used क्यों है? क्योंकि you don't know exact value which you need to be which we are getting in our application. ठीक है, कि exact value आपको नहीं पता होगी, range क्या होगी वो पता नहीं होगी, right? It can be 128 भी हो सकता है, 35,000 तक भी हो सकता है, anything. You don't know the range. That time you can go for this integer data type. It will store all the whole numbers from the list. So the range of this integer data type is -2 raised to 31 to 2 raised to 31 minus 1. Okay, now you can calculate yourself what is the 2 raised to 31 value is. Okay, you can store all whole numbers here in this integer data type. It requires 4 bytes of memory, that is nothing but 32 bits of memory in our system. Default value for this is Java, and we mostly use integer data type itself to store whole numbers or integral values. Then, okay, the example of this is integer I is equals to minus anything you can store. Okay, it will show you if that doesn't fit in the range. This is the plus value. If it doesn't fit, then it will be shown here. ठीक है, but the range is huge, -2 raised to 31. ठीक है, तो range बहुत बड़ी है. It requires 4 bytes of memory to store. After the integer, if you are saying that my range is more, I want to store more value, whatever the value range will be here, I want more values like mobile numbers, right? Mobile number is always starts with 9, 8, 7, 8, वगैरह, right? So it has a 10-digit number and it is always more than this range. So that time you can go for the long values. Okay, so long data type, it requires 64 bits of memory, nothing but 8 bytes of memory. It always stores again 2's complement. Okay, and its default value is also 0. The range of this long is minus 2 raised to 63 to 2 raised to 63 minus 1. And in Java 8 or later versions, it is always used for 64 bits unsigned integer store करने के लिए use होता है. ठीक है, unsigned भी कर सकते हो, signed भी कर सकते हो. It is always used signed and unsigned both. So, but the only difference is when you want to store any value into this in the long format, then you have to append it with the help of L literal. Okay, you have to append L as a literal value into your value. ठीक है, L आपको यहाँ पे append करना है. It can be capital L or small case L, but you have to append it just to tell the system that we want to store this value as a long format. Okay, so because if you are not giving this L, then it will consider the integer data type and the value will be assigned based on the memory allocation of integer data type, that is 8 bytes memory. 4 bytes of memory. 8 bytes memory required for long data type. Okay, so if whenever you are using this L as a precision here in this data type value, then it will understand that we need to assign or we need to allocate 8 bytes of memory and we can store this value into it. ठीक है, क्योंकि expected है जो value इस range के बाहर हो. ठीक है, that is why all these are integral or to store the whole numbers data type, that is byte, short, int, long. Now, whenever you are creating any application, understand your requirement. According to that, you need to identify the data type based on the given ranges. ठीक है, आपका requirement क्या है application का, आपको किस तरीके का value expected है, कौन से range में expected है, उसके basis के ऊपर आपको data type choose करने होता है. ठीक है, always make sure that क्या आपका memory जो है वो waste ना जाए. ठीक है, it should not go waste. आपका memory proper manage हो. ठीक है, that is why all these data types we need to identify and use. After this, these are only for whole numbers. But if you want to store any floating point values, that is decimal values, point values, then we have two data types, that is float and double. Okay, float is used to store single precision value which requires 2 bytes of memory or 32 bits of memory. The default value for this is 0.0. This is a floating point number and it is used mostly to store the floating values, but it never be used to store the currency related values because इसका floating point जो है वो उतना precise नहीं होता है. That is why we never uses this for precise value. Exact point values जब आपको चाहिए, जैसे currency, calculation, financial institutions जो करते हैं, point से भी उनका value change होता है, right? So at that point of time, you are not going to use float. Instead of the float, we will use double. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये भी उतना precise नहीं होता basically, but अगर आपको use करना है तो इसको भी use कर सकते हो. But Java has some other data types basically, which has the proper precision or precise values calculation, like big decimal classes are there. So in financial institutions we mostly use those. Okay, so अभी के लिए float में single precision 32 bits of memory requirement is there and it uses IEEE 754 floating point values. ठीक है, default value is 0.0. Yes, anyone wants to ask?
Yeah, okay. Calling from Vijay Austin.
I don't understand. Can you repeat? Okay, so we can store the float values with the signed values. Okay, but whenever you want to store any float value, you have to use F literal just to make sure that it is a floating point value and it should be stored according to the float data type. Okay, तो F literal and L literal आपको यूज करना जरूरी होता है, बाकी आपने कुछ यूज नहीं किया तो भी चलेगा. बाकी आप डायरेक्टली वैल्यूज सेट कर सकते हो, वैल्यूज दे सकते हो, बट फॉर फ्लोटिंग एंड लॉन्ग वैल्यूज को आपको लिटरल अपेंड करना जरूरी होता है. इट रिक्वायर्स after this double data type. We will see the double data type. डबल डेटा टाइप के लिए भी आपको यूज करना है, देन यू कैन यूज डी, बट इट इज नॉट कंपल्सरी, यू कैन स्किप दैट ऑल्सो. ठीक है, यू कैन स्किप the d literal if you don't want to give, you do no need to give. Short stores 30 to 768 to 30 to 767. Yes. No. The range is that. So if your value lies between that range, then you can use the short data type. Float requires 4 bytes of memory to store, and double requires 64 bits, that is 4 bytes of memory. Float requires 2 bytes of memory. It depends on the systems, because nowadays systems are 32 bits and 64 bits both. ठीक है, so it depends on the system. आपका जो भी डेटा टाइप है वो ऑलरेडी डिपेंड करता है आपका सिस्टम कौन सा है, 32 बिट्स का सिस्टम है या 64 बिट्स का सिस्टम है. अगर आपका 64 बिट्स का सिस्टम है तो आपको डबल मेमोरी लगेगी. ठीक है, 32 बिट्स का है तो इसके अकॉर्डिंगली मेमोरी लगेगी. डिपेंड्स ऑन द सिस्टम टाइप, बिकॉज जेवीएम डिसाइड करता है ना ये. So JVM's work is that, but basically, yeah, 8 bits is equal to 1 byte. Yeah, 32 bits is equal to 4. Right, 4 bytes. Sorry, यहाँ पे गलत लिखा है मैंने. Yeah, correct. Thank you, Mallikarjun. So float requires 4 bytes of memory and double requires 8 bytes of memory. Okay. 1 second. If you want to note down this example, please note it down. Okay, so this is all, these are all primitive data types. Okay. These are all primitive data types. We have seen all primitive data types, that is Boolean, character, byte, short, int, long, float, and double. Okay, primitive data types. Now, all these primitive data types have predefined classes in Java. Okay, those classes are known as wrapper classes. Before starting with the wrapper classes, we will summarize this. That is Boolean data type, true or false is the value. ठीक है, आप true false दे सकते हो, 1 bit of information. False is the default value. Size required 1 bit. Byte data type, 2's complement integer store करता है, default value is 0. It requires 8 bits of memory. Character, it stores Unicode characters. Default is /U000. 16 bits of memory is required. It uses ASCII values. ठीक है, ASCII values का range 0 to 255 होता है. Short also stores 2's complement. It requires 16 bits of memory. The range is this. Integer, again it stores 2's complement integer. Default is 0, 32 bits of memory requirement. And the value range is this, that is minus 2 raised to 31 to 2 raised to 31 minus 1. Okay. Long data type, again it stores the 2's complement integer. Default value is 0. It requires 64 bits of memory. And This is the range for storing long values. It is the Unicode character for null character basically, or zero characters भी बोल सकते हो आप. ठीक है. रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वो यूनिकोड का. फ्लोट डेटा टाइप IEEE 754 floating point. Default is 0.0, 32 bits of memory requirement, and it stores up to 7 decimal digits. And double में भी IEEE 754 floating point number store होता है. 0.0 is the default value. It requires 64 bits of memory, and it stores up to 16 decimal points. Okay, 16 decimal digits value. Now coming to the wrapper classes. As I said, all the primitive data types has predefined classes in Java. Already classes defined है Java में. For example, I will show you the class Boolean. Okay. So this is the Boolean class, which is a final class. जो है, it is within the package java.lang package. ठीक है. It is Boolean class or Boolean wrapper class for primitive data type Boolean. ठीक है. जो हम Boolean data type use करते हैं, उसके लिए primitive data type, all primitive data type has the predefined classes which are known as wrapper classes in Java. Okay. So what exactly the work of this primitive data types? So we are using this primitive data type Boolean. It has a wrapper class Boolean. Char के लिए character है, byte के लिए byte है, short के लिए short है, int के लिए integer class है, long has long wrapper class name itself, float का float ही है, double का भी double ही है. ठीक है. Only the char and int has the different names, that is character and integer. So what is the use of these wrapper classes? Wrapper class performs two operations basically, auto boxing and unboxing. Whenever you are using or these primitive data types, internally it automatically converts the primitive data type into its corresponding wrapper class. That means whenever you are creating this Boolean variable, okay, internally it is creating as an object of wrapper class. Okay, that is automatic conversion. That concept is known as auto boxing. Okay. Also, this auto boxing will be performed automatically. Okay. Then if you want to create any, if you have created any object of this wrapper class, and if you want to create convert it into its equivalent primitive data type, then that concept is known as unboxing. We will see the example, programming example also. Okay. So there are two concepts, auto boxing and unboxing. We will create another class for that in the same project. Okay. The class name I am creating or giving as wrapper class example. Include the main method. Here in this example, we will first see the basic class जो अभी हमने Boolean class देखा. ठीक है. Boolean class is individual class, but according to the data types, these all are character is different. Then byte, short, int, long, float, double, all are numbers, right? These are based on numbers. So all these have one parent class, which is number. Okay. So this is the class number is a parent for all the numerical data type related wrapper classes. Nothing but integer. If I will open this integer class, so this is the child class of number class. Okay, it is extending number class. तो सारे जो numerical data types है, उनका parent है number class. All these have the number class as a parent of all the wrapper classes, which are numeric. Okay, that means integer, byte, short, long, float, double. Okay. And this number class has some methods. For example, methods are abstract methods. We are going to see what is abstract method later. So these are methods: int value, long value, float value, double value. So according to the type of value you want to execute, you can use any method from this number class to display appropriate value. Okay. So here we will do one example. Suppose I am creating one variable. Integer a is equals to value I am storing as 0, 1. ठीक है, ये value मैंने store किया. Okay, so internally it is using the integer I is equals to a dot, sorry, internally it is creating variable name. I am keeping the same. Integer a is equals to integer class has the method value, and the value is 0, 1. So whenever you are creating any variable in the using primitive data type, internally it is using the value of method to perform auto boxing operation. ठीक है, इसको मैं separate रखती हूँ. System.out.println statement, value of a variable is it plus e. I will display the value of this a1 object also. What it will display, that we will see. So both statements are same. Both are storing the value 1 itself. Both statements are same. This is a primitive data type we are using. Internally, it is using the value of method to do the auto boxing operation. It uses the auto boxing. This is nothing but the auto boxing concept. Internally, it uses the same statement to store the same value. Okay. Value तो same ही है. अभी मैंने दो अलग-अलग variable names create किए हैं. That why there are two different variables, two different memory allocations. But if I use the same, so internally, this statement is auto boxed as this. Okay. Internally, it uses value of method to perform the auto boxing concept. Okay. Now, it is creating the object first and using that classes or wrapper classes value of method to perform. अभी जो methods है byte value वगैरह वो भी आप use कर सकते हो. You can use that method any time. So suppose I want to display system.out.println, इस statement को मैं display करती हूँ. Byte value of a variable suppose किया है, then you can use the method a1 dot byte value method. This method is of number class. ठीक है. So you will get the same value which is in the byte format. If the range is more, suppose that a1 variable I am giving some range which is out of byte. ठीक है. Byte range. Byte से ज़्यादा range है. So it will automatically convert that into the byte and it will get displayed here. Whatever the equivalent value for the byte is, we are getting here as a byte value. ठीक है. ये internal operation है. It will be displaying internally. It will be calculating internally based on the data types. That is known as casting. That we will see in the next part. Similarly, you can create the integer object. Suppose the object is a2. Okay. Object is a2. I have created the object a2. New integer, and I am giving some value to it. Okay, I am giving some value to it. I am creating object here, and suppose integer x is equals to a2. I am assigning the value directly to the primitive type. So this concept is known as unboxing. Automatically, it will convert this value, whatever the value we have stored here, and assigning that value to the primitive data type. This concept is known as unboxing. Okay. So the wrapper class object into its corresponding primitive data type conversion is known as unboxing concept. So what it will do, it will basically uses the method, यहाँ पे ही बताती हूँ, a2 डॉट int वैल्यू, जो अभी हमने यहाँ पे बाइट वैल्यू यूज किया, उसी तरीके से int वैल्यू मेथड यूज करता है इंटरनली, सो दैट द वॉट एवर द ऑब्जेक्ट इज वैल्यू इज, that will be converted as per the integer data type, and that will be displayed here. So a2 dot int value is internally used to store the value into this primitive data type. Okay, so I will display the value of a2 variable. We will directly display the a2 value, and again we will display x variable value. Both values will be should be same. ठीक है, दोनों के वैल्यू सेम होने चाहिए, right? So in this way, unboxing and auto boxing happens in the Java. Clear? Any doubt? Anyone? Any doubt? Anyone? Similarly, you can use other classes also, like float, that is your homework. So float, you have to use float, double classes. Character, I will show one example of character. Character C is equals to new character if I am using and giving any value to it, suppose Y. Not built in, we cannot say, that is predefined in number class. Okay, number class has that method, all the methods, float value, double value, long value, int value. These are abstract methods which are need to be implemented by the its child classes, which is the integer. So this integer class has implemented all those methods. Okay. I will list the methods here. Okay. So there are multiple methods. अभी के लिए तो सिर्फ हमने value of देखा है, and these methods like byte value, short value, int value methods are there. Okay. These are predefined methods in the wrapper classes. No, number is abstract class. Integer and all are not abstract classes. These are final classes. Okay. Number class is abstract class. All other classes are the child classes of these. That's why they need to implement the methods of this number classes. To open that, you need to first attach the source from your, according to your, what you can say, JDK version. ठीक है, JDK वर्जन जो भी है आपका, उसके इक्विवेलेंट सोर्स डाउनलोड करो सेम वेबसाइट से. वहां पे आपको src zip करके फाइल मिलेगा, उसको पहले डाउनलोड करो. Then that src zip should be added here. ठीक है, attached here. If you want to check whether it is already attached or not, just type any name of the class, use the control and your cursor point. Here you can see the open declaration option. Just open the declaration and you can see that class. If it is not showing you the classes, then you need to download the src zip according to your JDK version from the same वेबसाइट, Oracle's वेबसाइट, जहां से आपने JDK डाउनलोड किया है, वहीं से आपको src zip डाउनलोड करना है. एंड व्हेन यू ओपन दिस, ठीक है, अगर आपके पास नहीं है तो आपको यहाँ पे एक मैसेज दिखाई देगा अटैच सोर्स करके, ठीक है, देन अटैच दैट src zip here directly, you will be able to see those classes. Clear? Okay, so this character I am showing you for character class has different methods, ठीक है, बाकी classes में भी बहुत सारे methods है. I will explain one more method here, like for performing basic operations like sum, multiplication, division के लिए भी आपके पास these classes provide you some operational methods, ठीक है. For example, if you want to do the addition of a2 a1 and a2 करती हूँ, ठीक है, then you can use a2 dot sum method, ठीक है, these methods are static methods, so integer dot sum, but sum and the two values for which you want to store, ठीक है, तो मैं a1 and a2 दोनों देती हूँ. This is a static method. Basically you can see the implementation of this. Okay, so it is basically calculating the integer numbers का addition हो रहा है, ठीक है, so it is not required, the name of the class is required here. Okay, this is sum. Same method is available in the float, byte, short, ठीक है, double में भी है, byte, short, long, all those have the same type of methods for performing the operations. Okay, this is a sum. Similar to this, you can see the different methods here to find out the maximum value from two numbers, minimum value from two numbers. Okay, then रिवर्स एंड ऑल भी है, रोटेशन वगैरह भी है, बट ये अभी आपको जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है. So these are few number values related to value of एक मेथड हमने देखा int value, byte value, sum method and max min methods are there, ठीक है. If you want to display the value which you have stored here into the binary format, ठीक है, then it has some binary related methods also. Binary representation of a2 वेरिएबल दिखाती हूँ. पहले तो a2 का वैल्यू हम दिखाएंगे, दैट इज a2 का वैल्यू जो है, एंड उसके बाद मैं दिखाती हूँ उसका बाइनरी रिप्रेजेंटेशन. सो बाइनरी रिप्रेजेंटेशन के लिए वी विल यूज a2 डॉट टू बाइनरी स्ट्रिंग करके मेथड है, ठीक है, जिसमें आपको जिसका बाइनरी रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिखाना है वो दिखाएंगे. द मेथड इज स्टैटिक, सो वी नीड टू यूज नेम ऑफ द क्लास, ठीक है. इंटीजर डॉट टू बाइनरी स्ट्रिंग इज द मेथड which is used to see the binary representation of any number. So it will display the value in the 0-1 format. Okay, so 445 is the value and the binary representation is this, ठीक है. तो ये आपका बेसिक परफॉर्म हमने किया. So your homework is to complete these, use these classes. आपके बाकी के जो क्लासेस है वो आप देखोगे एंड बाकी के क्लासेस के मेथड्स भी आप स्टडी करोगे. वी विल सी द कैरेक्टर रिलेटेड in the next session. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, anyone?
No, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So we will end our session for today here, and we will continue with the next parts, that is typecasting and remaining operators and all, next module in the next session. Okay, if you had any doubt, you can always note down and you can ask in the session. Whatever the homework is given, complete that part. And I will be uploading the assignments also. The deadline will be given in the assignments. ठीक है, जब भी assignments upload होगा, next session तक आपका assignments upload हो जाएगा, तब आपको check करके उसको करना है implement. Okay? Clear?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay, ma'am. We can end our session.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for the joining.